Hello, everyone. Bobby Jones here for Valor Media and MeidasTouch Media Networks. I'm very, very honored and privileged to have a young man that I think all of you around the world watching you need to know. Bottom line is America is fighting back and pushing back against some of the things that you're seeing here. We have some high quality candidates. And straight from the heartland, I want to introduce Mr. Josh Turek. This man's story is not just the American dream, but also shows you what happens when the system doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And straight there in the heart of Iowa there, he is seeing things from a different perspective than a lot of us around the world may know about. So Josh, first, I just want to welcome you to this interview in MeidasTouch. How's it going?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're running for the United States Senate, which these days, that's a pretty damn big deal. But before we get into that, can you just tell us a little bit about your background? Because I find it fascinating, unique, and more importantly, inspiring.
Sure. State Representative Josh Turek, running to be Iowa's next senator. I'm the first permanently disabled member of the Iowa legislature, something I'm proud of. And I'm the Democrat that represents the reddest district that was won on election day. So the two communities I represent, Trump won by 18 points and by 10 points. I was able to win my district by nearly 6 points. And that was 50% more overperformance than any other Democrat in the state of Iowa. Born and raised in a place called Council Bluffs, Iowa, to a working class family, working class community. Someone that went through an enormous amount of economic adversity early in my life. We went to the Goodwill for clothes, shared clothes, had the wrong color lunch tickets, went to the free summer lunch programs. So went through a lot of economic adversity, so understand what a lot of folks are going through on that end. And then I was born with my disability. I was born with a condition called spina bifida. This was due to my father's exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam. So I had my first surgery at 1 day old, and I had 21 surgeries before I was 12. And so also in a very deeply personal way, understand the importance of affordable and accessible healthcare.
That leads right into kind of the things I want to talk about. You have lived having to rely on these systems, these networks that were designed specifically for veterans, for those who are less fortunate. All of that has been key. When you look at the current landscape in America, what do you think about how these programs are being handled in the current administration?
I mean, unfortunately, what we're seeing is just an erosion of all of these social safety nets. For example, here in Iowa, the big beautiful bill, Medicaid cuts. You've got 2 in 5 Iowans in the rural communities on Medicaid. We have closed 250 more healthcare clinics than we've opened here in this state. We're also the only state with a growing cancer rate. 110,000 Iowans losing their health care, and another 119,000 Iowans seeing their health care premiums double or triple. Also cutting people's basic food assistance just to give tax breaks to billionaires. And then additionally, looking at cuts to the VA. I get my health care through the VA. And we're just seeing all of these social safety nets hollowed out. And I think it's because we've got a DC that's broken. We've got a DC that is just millionaires that are just looking out for the billionaires, and those of us in the working class and those that can't afford a political donation or a lobbyist, we're just being left behind.
That leads into, that's a great lead in. The current company, Jody Ernst, she famously just got crushed on her reaction to when it came to healthcare and the cost and affordability. Can you talk a little bit about affordability for Iowans? I mean, Iowa is a great state. Man, y'all produce so much to feed the world, not the United States, the world. But what is it like affordability wise for you guys right now?
I can tell you this, that the thing that I hear the most as I've been traveling the state for the last 9 months is Iowans are hurting and they are struggling just to keep food on the table, a roof above their head, gas in their tank. What has happened out here in Iowa, we have bottomed out. We are dead last, 50th out of all 50 states for economic growth. We are 48th for personal income growth. One of 2 states already in an economic decline, basically dead last for every healthcare metric. Lead the nation in cancer rates, and now we lead the nation in farm foreclosures because of the tariffs. So you've got cuts to healthcare, and then meanwhile, Trump is giving $20 billion to Argentina. Meanwhile, our Iowa soybean farmers are upside down. And you go in these rural communities and they have been hollowed out. It looks like a vacuum has come through there. And this is because of bad federal policy. We've done nothing to support the small businesses. These rural communities, they've lost their pharmacies, their grocery stores. We're closing all the healthcare clinics because of Medicaid cuts. And then we're even closing public schools out in rural communities. People are hurting.
Wow. I mean, that hits home. I did not realize that Iowa had to deal with all of those. I mean, those are some ridiculous rankings. And for Senator Ernst to say what she said, well, that's neither here nor there. Let me let you pivot a little bit into the international space, because this United States Senate is basically going to have to call the president to the carpet on a lot of stuff here. When you look at the international landscape, both how we deal with our allies, what's going on with Iran, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, I can tell you this. I can speak to it from a personal perspective. Again, as somebody that comes from a generation of veterans. Both of my grandfathers served in World War II in the Navy. My father served 22 months active duty in Vietnam. It was due to his exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam, was ultimately why I ended up with my disability of spina bifida. I'm an example of the generational consequences of these forever wars that we keep finding ourselves into. Of when the bombs stop, the consequences do not. And what I've seen far too much of in my life are, we spend $1 trillion in Iraq, $1 trillion in Afghanistan. My father's conflict, 50,000 brave men and women don't come home. And my time in adaptive sports, playing with these brave men and women that come back, missing arms and missing legs. And we're far too quick to send our brave men and women overseas, not nearly quick enough to take care of them. But we've got to stop getting ourselves into these forever wars. And, right now in Iran, $1 billion a day is what we're spending over there in Iran. Meanwhile, we're closing schools and hospitals and roads here in Iowa. And I think that an Iowa first approach, an America first approach, is let's take care of our people here. And in the United States Senate, I will be doing everything I can to prevent us from going into these forever wars.
That's a wonderful answer, Josh. Let me give you a little bit of time to talk about you yourself. You mentioned playing sports, but you also have the condition that you have. Can you talk a little bit about what you've learned about yourself, how you had to push through? Because I believe that is a very key part of your story.
Yeah, it's actually, I didn't mention that on the front side, but I'm a 4-time Paralympian and I'm a 2-time gold medalist in wheelchair basketball, played professional wheelchair basketball all around the world. It's taught me the discipline and the work ethic that's required to be able to do this. It was an amazing opportunity to be able to represent my country on the field of play. Really was a great honor to have USA across my chest and see the stars and stripes raised high. And I've tried to take that same philosophy of, when you're representing your country on the field of play, you're representing everybody. It doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, Independent, you're representing everyone. And I've really tried to take that same philosophy in my legislative work of, to me, it never has mattered if it's a Democratic idea, Republican idea. I want to work together for bipartisan solutions to people's problems. And I would say as well, it's taught me, do the work, keep your head down, don't worry about what people say. I know who I am. I know where I've come from. I know what I'm fighting for. And that's what we need right now in DC. We need more fighters, and we need more fighters for the people, fighting for the working class, not just fighting for the billionaires and large corporations. And I think that's what I will bring to the United States Senate.
I totally agree. We need people who are fighting. We got a lot of talkers up in DC, but very few fighters. You've lived a life where you've had to fight, but most importantly, you choose to fight. There's a big difference. So let me get you out of here on this. What are the basic things that you will push for? What is it that you stay awake at night needing to fix? We send you to Capitol Hill. What are you trying to do?
Well, I'm a common sense prairie populist like Senator Tom Harkin was. He was the father of the American with Disabilities Act. And so for me, it's going up there and fight for the little guy. It's fighting for the voiceless. Unfortunately, what I've learned in my time in the state legislature is whether legislation moves or doesn't move, it only depends on where's the lobby, where are the donations. And so going out there and fighting for the little guy, for the people that can't afford a political donation. But I would say first and foremost would be healthcare. as someone that's gone through all the healthcare adversity that I've gone through, I believe that healthcare is a human right, and I believe that we need a public option in place for every single person. I've seen far too much suffering in my life of people having to declare bankruptcy or divorce their spouse just to have access to healthcare. Beyond that, I would say a livable wage, affordable housing, driving private equity out of housing and out of healthcare, affordable pharmaceuticals through negotiated drug costs and caps on things like insulin, doing something about our cancer rate here in Iowa, supporting public schooling, infrastructure, and addressing the corruption. God, DC is just so fundamentally broken with corruption. And that is both on, we need campaign finance reform and overturning Citizens United, but that's also on making sure we've got ethics reforms in place. I'm going to fight for term limits, for banning members of Congress and their families from owning and trading stock. Great thing with me is you don't have to worry about me selling my stock because I don't own any stock. And making members of Congress having at least one annual town hall so they can be, there for their constituents. And that's what we need. We need more fighters for the people, because what we've got is people like Ashley Hinson here in Iowa that is 10 times more wealthy in her time in Congress, voted against banning members of Congress from trading stock, only looking out for billionaires and large corporations. We need more fighters for the people, fighting for the middle class that's being hollowed out, and fighting for our workers. That's what a true populist is. That's what I'm fighting for.
Well, first, I love common sense. And I remember that town hall. It was pretty ridiculous. She had a town hall. Was she one of the ones that got yelled down pretty well? I mean, people in Iowa are pissed. I'm just gonna be, they are pissed. And I'm glad that you're willing to stand up and say, I'll be that guy. I will stand out there. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it was an honor and a privilege to bring to you Mr. Josh Turek, state senator running for the United States Senate. You heard those reforms make total sense. Total sense. And I can only wish you the best of luck. I wish I could vote for you, but I'm down here in Georgia. So Josh, good luck to you. If there's anything else you need, please reach out.
One last thing, anybody out there not taking any corporate PAC money, just relying on individual donors on this. And so anybody out there, if you want, come to my website, Turek, Turek, the number 4, which was my basketball number, TurekForIowa.com. Help us push for change. We've got a once in a generation opportunity here in Iowa to be able to flip this U.S. Senate seat. If we can win this Senate seat, we can get to 51, and we not only change the state of Iowa, we can change this country, and we can save this democracy.
Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Josh Turek, man, good luck to you. And we'll be looking to talking to you in the future.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasTouch.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.